next game plan is usually it's you kind of have to get over that failure and you have to kind of look for the next step. And until you have that next step, there's no sense stressing. Like
just acknowledging that like you are making a difference and those kids count on you being there to help them get through their day. You know, you being there really does change.
But like when we first initially matched, I think we were both only kind of sure that that's who we were matching with. We weren't 100% sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then her and my dad literally have all the exact.
Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to the Long-Term Podcast. I'm your host, Advin Villa. Today, we have two of my good friends, Chris Valaire and Kassie Vigfusson. We will discuss ending up getting the outcome you expected, manifestation, the minds of children, not understanding them and understanding their needs, long-term lifestyle, being in a field where you're doubting yourself, but ultimately just trying your best to succeed and thrive, and long-term goals in partnership. Chris and Kassie are just a phenomenal couple and they are just great to be around. I really enjoy talking to them, and this episode is filled with great advice and compassion and care. We get off track sometimes, but it just adds so much to the conversation. It's just an overall fun episode with a lot of knowledge. Everybody, welcome. Yeah, welcome to the Long-Term Podcast. Kassie Vigfusson and Chris Valaire here. Yeah, second time and then first
My
time.
first time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah. Welcome back. And yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself, Kassie.
All right. So my name's Kassie, and I'm currently enrolled at Concordia for teaching. I'm Chris's girlfriend, and I'm excited to be here today.
Welcome. What made you want to pursue education? Because I know you already got your degree, hey?
Yeah, just my undergrad, but education, I think ever since high school, I've wanted to be a teacher, but yeah, I've had a few experiences growing up that kind of made me want to be a role model for students, good and bad. I think kind of shaped my dream to become a teacher and help inspire students. I think the bad teachers, unfortunately, made me want to be a teacher more because I kind of saw when someone's not doing their job, like where we need more people to come in and be more passionate about education. So that's where I'm coming from.
There's this idea of negative role models, hey, where you meet someone and they don't particularly have the best habits and you go, I don't want to live a life they do. Maybe it's a person that is awesome. Maybe they do have something that you do admire, but then there's also a side of them that is destructive. And then you see that side and you go, yeah, I don't particularly want to be like that. And when it comes to being a teacher, you see the teachers that didn't like their job in elementary, and it becomes a lot more clear now that we're adults that, oh, that teacher just did not like the kids at all.
Maybe not in it for the right reasons. Or,
Because with the degree, hey, once you're a couple years in, and then 3 years, and it's like, and then it's too late. Like it might as well pursue this job to then it's all for the paycheck.
Yeah, it's hard. I feel like, especially with education, it's one of those roles where I think you need to be passionate about the job in order to really do a good job. It's not just something you can go home at the end of the day and be like, all right, we're done. You know, I think you need to care about what you're doing and striving to always be doing your best and improving. But unfortunately, a lot of people are like, it's just easy. Weekends off, summer off. I'm like, no, that's not how it is. It's hard mentally, physically.
Dealing with kids is tough, man. Like I've got here, still with the family here, but just the different ages and kind of the different emotions that arise, and it's never going to be 100% with each passing day.
Yeah.
And sure, maybe you do get those time off, but it's when you are in it, you're dealing with other people and the kids in their crucial years, and you determine who and what they're going to be.
Yeah.
And there's this idea too with manifestation, where like the beliefs that you have surrounding kind of what you aspire to be and what you come across in the world, that's how you're going to present yourself, and that's how people are going to either hate or love you, right? And if you show up to the world and you're constantly resentful and you're always seeing the bad in other people, and I have met many people that do see others in the bad light, but then when I meet that same person and I'm like, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them already think they're guilty before they even,
I think a perfect example of that is we did an experiment. I can't remember. It was maybe grade 10 or 11. And the conversation was about whether or not children are naturally good or naturally evil. And or naturally neutral, like they haven't made a call. I always veer towards the side that a child is naturally good. It's kind of the guilty until proven innocent kind of talking point. But it's true. You would see the people in class that would say, no, babies are naturally neutral. They'd raise their hand and say that. And it's like, you can almost feel like maybe a bit of projection. Like they've written off like, oh, it's a brand new baby. Well, hasn't done anything good yet. Maybe like they themselves feel like they don't deserve to be treated as good people until they've done something good, which could be a good thing. They could exercise that by doing more good things to be seen good. They're maybe a bit of a people pleaser, or the other way where they feel like they'll never be naturally accepted just being themselves. It could kind of go both ways.
Yeah. It's I always ask myself the question of like, is a person just good because they were taught that way, or is it just like inherently just within, right? I've always some days I'm like, oh yeah, no, definitely, I'm just good within. But then I'm like, no, my mom taught me that.
Yeah. You see the kids who don't clean up their tables at the fast food places, and you're like, that obviously a terrible mom. Or you're like, obviously a terrible kid. There's no other explanation.
So true,
No, who taught this kid? Where it matters.
Yeah, totally.
But going towards belief though, what are the main steps you guys take to align your actions with your intentions when you're pursuing a goal?
Do you want me to go first, or?
It's up to you.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll go first. I'd say the biggest thing for me is I always like to kind of like, so when it comes to like aligning your actions with your goal, the biggest thing for me is I always like to compartmentalize my goal. So if my goal is someday I want to be a millionaire, obviously that's more than a one-step process. It doesn't just go not being a millionaire to being a millionaire. There are milestones along the way. But one thing I really do believe in is losing the battle to win the war. So if you're somebody who firmly believes that you want to be a millionaire and you've decided that the best way to get there is to go to med school, and halfway through med school you're failing out, it's wise to don't abandon the goal because you missed on the first step that was along the way. There's probably another first step. And I think like a real life example of that would be if you're walking up a set of stairs, you can kind of skip the first step sometimes. If you give yourself a leg up, not to be too, but yeah, I feel like for me, there's been a ton of times where like either a long-term or a short-term goal has been missed. And for me, the most crucial thing when it comes to deciding my next game plan is usually you kind of have to get over that failure and you have to kind of look for the next step. And until you have that next step, there's no sense stressing. Like I know it's happened to me before where I've jumped from one industry to another, and it's you don't usually wear it on like as pride on your chest to say like, yeah, I quit my job and now I'm looking for something else. It's not usually like a prideful thing to say, but and in the same light, if you sit at home all day and you're borderline depressed because you've decided that it wasn't the right move for yourself, well, you're not going to get anything done. But if you kind of come to terms with it, you say it was the right move for me. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. Don't know what I'm doing the next day, but the long-term goal is still there. It's a lot easier to kind of pick yourself up and start anew if you can, kind of fully get rid of what was in the behind and look for a different route to go in the future. And I'd say that's the biggest step for me when it comes, to chasing those longer term goals, and especially with short term setbacks.
Yeah, it's constantly seeing that, oh, maybe that didn't go through, and Like, sure, you can dwell on it, and maybe you need some time because maybe you had all those dreams and ambitions and they were crushed because maybe something of just out of your control where you wanted to be an artist, but then your hands, you can't use them anymore for ailments that arose or just from a crash, or it's just you lose that hope. But then it's constantly just, what can I learn from that event? And how can I shape my life up so that I'm not just a puddle of tears forever?
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about for you, Kassie?
I would say it's kind of the same. Like, I think I try to look at the outcome that I want, like the long-term goal. What am I working towards? And I think from there, breaking it down into like steps and making little goals from each long-term goal to kind of make it not seem so scary when it's like, I have years worth of work to do to get where I want to go. But if you're like, okay, like in the next 3 months, what's something that all this work is going to go towards? Let's make that the goal first. And then from there, we can go step by step to each one.
It's daunting, hey?
It can be really scary when you're like, especially for school, I think, one thing where you're like, I have 4 more years of this. It's like,
yeah.
So I'm like, okay, semester by semester, like let's take it one step at a time and then celebrate each little win to keep you on that path, right?
And especially on campus life or even being in Sherwood Park, right? A lot of our mutual friends, we are friends with some very high achieving people. Right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of them are already engineers, nurses,
government
teachers,
employees, whatever.
Employees. And then when you look at yourself in the mirror, it's like, I still got...
It's awful. No.
Yeah, it's awful. I'm like, what like they're already so ahead, but it's just... In the grand scheme of things, we're still so young, right? A lot of, like, you look at J.K. Rowling, and it didn't take her until she was in her 40s, right?
Without a doubt. I mean, you look at any pro athlete. Like, if you look at that Connor McDavid, when he was 9 years old, and let's say he's really good at it as a 9-year-old hockey player, but his slap shot sucks. Are we going to go, no more Connor McDavid forever? Or, you give him till he's 10 years old to develop that slap shot. But if you consider the fact that a hockey player develops from the ages of 4 to 24, like that's their biggest development. And you consider the fact that we as humans develop from 0 to 100, you kind of stretch the scale out. If you look at a 23-year-old and you say they do everything perfect except for they're not organized with their fitness routine. Well, you don't throw them out. They might only figure that out when they're like 46, but that's kind of the part of personal development, A lot of our successful friends have visible and probably invisible things that they hide. They don't want people to know that they're not quite there yet. And that, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just kind of where they are on their path.
And it's trusting the process. I mean, know yourself, whether you're actually trying, right, to the best of your abilities.
Yeah.
And the days are short, but the days are long, but the years are short. And in the grand scheme of things, you think of all your midterms, you think of the finals, you think of the grand scheme of things when it comes to sales and how much you have to goal. How much you have to put in, or if you want to buy a house, or if you want to start hitting the gym or improve your relationships. It's daunting thinking about kind of decades on end.
Yeah.
But what can you do today? Like, how can you come closer? And that's the process of anything is 99%. And the whole outcome of it, it's only 1%. So we tend to prioritize a lot of our kind of goals around the reward, when really the process makes up the majority of it.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Like a lot of people will talk about what is I heard a quote literally today, and it was like be like the frog, for the frog trusts its leap without knowing the outcome, and it's you'll see a video, and it's something they've showed in the video. A frog jumps over a little wall. It's a short wall, it's about a foot tall, but it's true, he made that jump having no idea what's on the other side. Like, common sense would dictate it's dirt, but who knows? It could have been a pit of boiling lava, like, for all he knows. But, the frog still kind of trusts animal instincts, and it's like, trust the journey. Because more often than not, it will be dirt on the other side. How often is the frog actually going to land in something that's going to hurt it? That's why the frog trusts the journey. But we as humans, we're so conditioned and we have so much like pattern awareness, and we do, we try to make sure we don't get hurt. We don't put ourselves in risk, and all of that can kind of culminate to being afraid of making leaps and letting the journey kind of take you.
Yeah.
And it's that uncertainty.
Yeah. Well, and I think with failure too, I think we look at it as like the worst thing that can happen to you. But I honestly think sometimes you learn the most from things that don't work out, like that's a learning experience and you can take that through life.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I've heard that failure isn't final, it's formative.
Mm-hmm.
And while you can fail a million times, it's a matter of, okay, are you going to let that define you and then just give up on your dreams and ambitions and stop with whatever you're doing?
Yeah.
Or are you going to persevere? Are you going to think back one day and just talk about how great of a story it was?
Yeah.
Because you failed a million times and then you finally got through. Yeah. Whether it be going for that job, your dream job, or whether it be creating an environment that is fostering love and compassion, because when you were young, all you were surrounded by was just hate and neglect. Right? There's all these different goals, and if you let kind of one bad interaction deter you from what you want, from what you planned out, then it's never going to come to fruition, because maybe you're at the 88th step and the 89th step, it's finally where you get your break. It's finally where, that girl says yes, or you get that call from the job, or you actually feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, totally. And I think everybody has a certain understanding of a goal that they've set for themselves. And I know everybody's seen the picture where it's the young guy with the pickaxe and the old guy with the pickaxe, and there's all the diamonds, and the old guy's given up right before he hits the diamonds, and the young guy's still chipping away. And it's like,
you see that.
They're like outside on the tunnels, top and bottom, and like that picture is I've seen it used in a lot of very hilarious ways, but in a serious light, I feel like everybody has had that feeling of like, is this worth the input? That's where I was feeling with my career in car sales. I was really feeling like I'm this close to like I did get the promotion. I was a finance manager, and they were like, yep, just a couple more months of working these 70-hour weeks and we'll get you a partner. Then you'll have weekends off. Just a couple more months, just a little more. It was at the end of it, I was like, gosh, I feel like I've put it like a year and a bit into this, and I've done everything that they've asked, and I've made the business a good amount of money. And I kind of felt like I was, week after week, I'm right on the edge. And is it worth it to keep on going? Now, I made the decision to quit at that moment because, in my opinion, it was right for me. But I also saw a lot of people that quit after week 3 in the industry. I was like, oh man, like they had so much potential. Like I didn't want them to stay in the business forever. They very clearly aren't someone cut up for car sales, but they could have learned so much, and they could have gotten such a great reference from one of the other people that they're working with here in the dealership if they could just stick it out just a bit longer. Because in my mind, it's not like I never got the goal I achieved. I learned a ton, but I do see a lot of people that I'm like, if you did this for 2 more months, I think you would have realized whether or not you want to do this as a career.
I feel like you were also very passionate about it, hey? I think when the first podcast I did with Chris, you could just tell how fascinated and how in love he was with the process.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
While it was too much for you to be working 70 hours and that chapter has come and gone, you still learn so much, and how to talk to people and which prices and how to communicate properly and to deal with rejection. There's so many tools that you may not think about, right? Because a lot of people just focus on the obvious metrics of, okay, how much money does this give me? How much, and when it comes to the gym, how much muscle, how much kind of the visible kind of onset. They don't think about, okay, did this teach me discipline? Kind of the like alchemy, that's something that I believe in of, okay, if I keep with this virtue signaling, and if I keep continuing to be honest, will I achieve a good, fulfilling life. And by money standards, maybe the monetary side of things, may not come to, you may not be able to measure it, but certainly you can feel it. Hey, I mean, by just dropping the workload and actually focusing on kind of, people say, the work-life balance.
I know, yeah.
Right?
It's cliche, but
yeah, it's so many people say that now, but like a lot of people will sacrifice hidden metrics, and it's for observable metrics.
Big time.
You get offered a job and you have to move kind of 2 provinces down, and then you won't see your family, but it's okay because it's $50,000 more. But then you don't get to see your friends. Maybe you don't get to see your girlfriend as much. Maybe the sleep gets diminished, and that's what you're sacrificing, the hidden metrics for the observable ones. And I think life is so much more than that, right?
Yeah. Without a doubt. And I'm saying this to the people in the camera here.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you folks have moved away from Edmonton, but I know that at least half that have moved away have come back. Because at the end of the day, and it's not like these people are, it's not bad to want to live on the coast. Like, I was born in Halifax. I love living by the water, but I do feel like that's an example of people that might have not even realized that they actually do care a lot about those hidden metrics of an employment or of a lifestyle, but they end up saying like, I need to get out of this cold tundra hell town. And then they leave and they go, oh man, this doesn't feel like home. And they come back. You know, it goes to show that even if there is like some other opportunities in other places, I find myself more and more as I get older being like, nah, man, I don't want to.
Yeah. I like,
my parents are, they're not old, but they're going to be old someday.
I like it in Sherwood Park.
I love it in Sherwood Park.
It's actually like a utopia.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't say this online, but like I haven't locked my car door in like 3 years.
Yeah, no, it's I for the longest time at Millennium, I didn't bring a lock, and I know it's kind of we're growing in size now, and it's just been problems now. But I think for the most part, Sherwood Park's just blessed me my entire life.
Totally. Yeah, the school I went to.
We get to, see each other with the mutual friends coming to the parties, right?
Yeah,
and
totally.
Yeah, you get to be able to walk outside without having to worry about getting assaulted.
Yeah. No, that's actually something crazy is I've never been to a party where there's a weird dude there that nobody knows. Like, I feel like everybody kind of knows everyone at all the social events I'm at. And even like we were at a party the other weekend, and one of Cassie's friends knows one of my friends that I was best friends with in grade 4. Like, it just like, it kind of all ties in and of itself. It's a small world, and I kind of like it that way.
Yeah,
that's nice. Are you guys planning on staying in Sherwood Park or Edmonton?
I would like to.
Definitely within Edmonton for sure. When I worked in Windermere, I wanted to move down to Windermere. Cassie really wants to stay in Sherwood Park. I have nothing against that.
I'm an only child, so I want to stay close to my parents. Yeah, and I think like we're both close with our families, so it's like we want to stay near them, I think.
Yeah, like my one grandmother literally lives down the block, and up until last year, my uncle and aunt lived on the same street as me. So
love to keep the family close. Like I wake up every day, and you just get to see the family, right?
Yeah, totally.
Close by, kind of the events. You don't have to travel long ways. Yeah,
and I feel like a conversation I've been having a lot with people at work, customers, people online, close friends, family. I feel like we're moving more towards an economy and a culture again that will have multi-generational households. So I think we're going to go back a little bit more to kids taking care of their parents. I know a lot of people watching this right now are like, oh crap, but I'm serious, It's just, I know as young people, we spend a lot of time on the horn complaining about the price of a house. While your parents have one right there. All you got to do is bathe them once a week. Is it worth the deal for you? Not going to do that for your mom? She birthed you.
Just got to be nice to your parents, You'll have a house in 30, 40 years.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. That's the game for it. No, but I just, I feel like that'll become a lot more common, We always talk about how there's not enough houses, but also like, are your parents going to have that house all to themselves when you're gone? Are they going to need that?
I don't know.
They'd probably get rid of 2 floors on that thing and they'd be fine.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show, it's priorities. It's the image, Well, I don't want to live with my parents forever. Okay, I get it. They kind of cramp your style, but
I think it's been more common in Sherwood Park. Like I know it was it's kind of been stigmatized for some people, but I've met so many people on campus from Sherwood Park that are staying with their parents and up until after they graduate, and then they find that after they do graduate, it's still not enough, and they stay longer, and it's kind of been more accepted.
You actually even see it in the building practices within Edmonton. Me and Cassie were down, and we were kind of kicking tires with a real estate agent. How much would it cost if we had this? If we just had $500,000? What are we talking about here? We get the emails like 4 times a day. It's kind of annoying. I don't want to call her and say that we were wasting her time though, because she's put so much work into it. If you're ever looking for a house, Shivani Baga, she's all over the place. No, but we noticed like on the first floor of these houses in Windermere, there is a full bedroom, and the bathroom has a full shower on the first floor, like right beside the kitchen. You're like, what the heck? But a lot of it is because there's a lot of new Canadians coming into those neighborhoods, and they're bringing their grandparents with them. And in those cultures, the grandparents stay with them. So the houses are being built to accommodate that. And I think it's fine. It's a good thing, if anything, because you can have a single home. And I noticed it a lot with my customers also, especially from India and a lot of like Southeast Asian cultures.
Even the Philippines were like that.
There you go. Like
that. Look at my house.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But it's they share a car, which is something that when I was 16, was like, that is the dumbest thing ever. But now that I'm like an adult, more so an adult, I think, if I had a daily, I would have no problem sharing that with my brother. I mean, you get half as many car payments if you only need the car half the time. And I feel like in Western cultures, we're less willing to share with our families, but I think it's a good thing that's changing a bit. And I kind of hope it changes a bit, because
that's actually a positive light to the kind of economy that has been less affordable in the recent years. Kind of spin to it. I haven't really. People complain to me about, the grocery stores are just so expensive on top of school, on top of that. But I've never really had a positive rebuttal towards it. I kind of just go, I get it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now it's just, hey, man, think about the family. You get to spend more time.
Truth be told, if Cassie's probably sitting here going, Chris, you complain about everything price wise, and I do, but I'm on the long term podcast. You gotta think
not the long term podcast.
So I'm thinking, thinking long term wise. I think it's good that nuclear families are spending more time with each other. You know who know their parents the best? People that were in first generation Canadians in like the 1600s in a room this size with their whole family starving to death. Man, they knew their family super well.
Yeah, it seems like the struggle just brings us closer, hey?
Oh, it totally does. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Can you guys share a time when you manifested a significant outcome, and what strategies or mindset shifts were crucial in making it happen?
Ooh. Okay. Maybe I'll go first.
Yeah.
I'll talk about, so my long-term goal, I would say, for education going into my undergrad was to become a teacher. But when I graduated, I applied to the ed program. I didn't get in, and I was heartbroken. I was like, what am I going to do? All my plans,
end of the world.
Yeah, I thought it was the worst thing ever. And then I ended up getting a job at a school working as a behavioral therapist, and best thing that's ever happened to me. I learned so much from that experience. And I feel like because of that, I've got so much more passion for education and teaching, and I see the value in education and helping these kids. And I think because of that, it's just kind of reignited my passion for that. And I think because of that, I'm grateful for those setbacks. I think it kind of allows you to have to adapt and change your outlook and be like, it's okay. No matter what happens, just roll with the punches. Take it as a learning opportunity. Maybe there's a better path out there and you don't know it, but the universe is looking out for you in the long term, so.
And you were an assistant of
I was a behavioral therapist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was
did you
crazy.
Just help kids?
Yeah. So I'd work with all the kids that kind of had diverse needs. So I kind of would be there to support EAs and kind of come in with different behavior strategies.
You need to have a lot of patience.
Yeah. I definitely learned to be calm, because there was days where I'd be like, this is rough. But then
it was fulfilling, I bet.
It was hard, but then you'd have a good day, and then it would make the bad days be like, you know what? It's going to be okay, because we're going to have these little wins to get us through each and every day. And
I think she did a really good job, because the whole time she worked with one student she worked with quite a bit throughout the entire year. And that was kind of her special case. And she only came home like maybe 6 times and was in a significantly like startled up mood because of how the day went, which in my opinion is very good considering the amount of times where she would come home and just casually be like, oh yeah, we got hit with the thermos today.
Yeah. Sundays were rough, but I think as time went on, you would like build relationships with your coworkers and the students. And from there, it would be like, it was a bad day, but you don't take it personally, you know, like be like, and then I think when I first started off, I would think like, oh, I'm the problem. Like these kids are acting because I'm here. But then over time, I'd be like, oh, it's this. I'd be unfazed by things because I'd be like, oh, this happens to everybody. Like this kid would be running out of the school and I'd be like, oh, just another day. I could just be like, I'm used to this. All the like EA subs would be like running around. Oh my gosh. I'd be like, oh guys, it's okay. Let's just deal with this.
Thriving in the chaos.
Yeah. I feel like, when you're new to something too, it also especially like taking something personally. I find for myself when I'm new to something, I'm very hard on myself. The biggest mistake I've made in my most recent job is I was accidentally going like 22 kilometers an hour on the truck lot and we're only supposed to be going 15. And one of the like service manager guys like rolled down his window in his pickup truck and was like, hey there, Chris. And I was so embarrassed. Like like the like look on my face, it's as if they just caught me like raiding the like cash register.
But
like,
you didn't know, right?
But I did know because I saw the sign posted. I didn't think that's how fast I was going. I just felt like a fool, you know? Like so far everything's been good. I feel like I've been gaining trust. I'm quite young, so it's a lot of work to make sure I'm not like the dumb hotshot in the company. And then I do that and I'm like,
But that must be like a evolutionary adaptation that we have when we first get into a novel task or an occupation. Is it's much more powerful at the start, so we don't forget it. And kind of with your first job, right, that you forgot, just it's not you forgot, you didn't know.
Yeah.
And that feeling of just nervousness.
Right. I wasn't being malicious.
Yeah. But then you'll never forget now.
Yes.
And kind of kids being all over the place and it's kind of tough, but then eventually it's just normal.
Yeah.
Because at the start, initially, the feelings are powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I think self-doubt's the thing too, where it's like you need, especially with a new role or job or whatever, it's like kind of having the confidence to be like, it's okay. Like, and I feel like you should be allowed to fail, obviously, but especially at the beginning, I think you need to lower your expectations and realize people also know you're new to this or just beginning, and they're not going to expect you to come in and be like, I can do this right away. Right. So.
And then with that job too, you get to build a lot of compassion for other people. You get to realize that, oh, like my problems are not so bad after all. Right? You see these kids that aren't as adjusted, and you kind of reflect on kind of how you were as a kid. I'm like, you kind of feel more compassion now for the kids that didn't have it as easy.
Yes.
Right? Because we all just look at that kid and we kind of, there's one kid in my class and he was a bit troubled and all the kids just egged him on. But he had clearly behavioral issues. Clearly there was something was up and he couldn't fit in as well. And the teachers treated him like the bad kid. And of course he was bad, but certainly us as a class, like elementary, it certainly didn't help. But now you have so much more understanding of the world, in that this kid right now could be catapulted into a whole world of just terror if there's no supportive adult, and it's kind of coming into it with compassion and kind of support, and just teaching the other kids to be, hey, sure, Johnny is an asshole, but like there's some nice stuff, right?
Yeah, well,
just be nice, and teaching him
and
nice
I think it
lessons.
kind of I think it kind of rubs off on us too. When you're told as a student, like, hey, there's somebody in your class who has some special requirements, you need to make an effort to make sure that they can feel included. I think I've only realized this as I've gotten older. I think it's good for and I say this like normal, I say that with quotes, but for the kids that the teacher isn't addressing, what the teacher is also broadcasting to the whole class is, if you're not 100% borderline, like flatlined and like everybody else, we are going to help you. Might make people feel a little more comfortable to kind of open up about things that they need extra support on. If they're being told that, hey, you have to be extra accommodating to him, it might make you feel a lot more willing to be like, I might actually also need some extra accommodation, you know? Like, it could work positively in both ways.
Well, I think it starts with the teacher too. Like, the teacher fosters that environment. Students model off of the teacher and how the teacher interacts with each and every student. So I think it's important. And adults and parents, like, if they're including students that maybe don't always get included, the students are going to be more apt to include that kid as well. So I think it's really important that, you know, it comes from top down with those type of things.
How do you guys balance staying flexible and adaptable while still focusing on manifesting a specific result and being in these new occupations, right? How do you guys adapt to it and learn?
I would say the biggest thing for myself, I think everybody has a bit of a preconceived notion of what they're getting into. So when I started working at the dealership, I remember the first time, I didn't know how a dealership had ever worked. The only time I'd ever been inside one was with my parents when we bought our Toyota Highlander when I was 12 years old. So I didn't really know what I was getting into. However, what I did know 100% is I wanted to be the top salesman. I didn't even know a ballpark of what the price of the most expensive or the cheapest Nissan was there. I couldn't even tell you. I worked there long enough. I know it's $29,867 is the cheapest one you can get. And the most expensive one is $80,126. But those were numbers that I knew I would learn. And I knew someday I'd be confident. I'd be able to like spit them off. But I knew at the time what was most important was learning the environment. So obviously showing up at work and saying, I want to be number one, or saying, I want to be the best teacher. And I want to be the one that all the other teachers go, the kids only like Kassie because she kind of sucks up to the parents or whatever, you know, because she's such a great teacher. Like I wanted to be the person that the other people at work, the only way that they could explain why I was doing as well as I was is, he had to be fed, or the managers love him. That's the only way he can be as successful as he is. And I kind of wanted to be there. I didn't know what that looked like though. And I didn't know what the steps I needed to take to get there would be. But the biggest thing is, I think, just keeping an open mind. I very quickly, you read the room, and in the car sales world, it's your sales manager tells you to jump, you say how high, So I very quickly realized that's what it was. And a very good close friend of mine, Seville, he was the guy who hired me. I know him and a lot of people in the industry have butt heads, but I very easily learned, again, you read the room, you kind of learn how he thinks and what he likes. It's not that difficult to kind of to find your place in that ecosystem. So I'd say that's the biggest thing. Is I had a goal, like I wanted to be number one, but I think context and understanding the context that you're in, I think people underestimate that a lot. They underestimate how important it is to adapt your own comforts to the environment around you. Because as I got better in that organization and in that culture, in that profession, the more that I kind of realized, like, I'm starting to be a little more veteran now. So even though I have every right to kind of talk back to the manager right now, I shouldn't, because the new hires are watching. And that's not how they're going to get beat up if they talk to him like that. So I have to pretend I'm a new hire in front of the new hires. That way they can kind of pick up off the right thing, because I feel like that's a thing, especially in sales with a lot of like short-tempered people that are easy to upset. Like read the room, find out what people want, find out what they're looking for. Like it amazes me how many times in different jobs that I've worked where I see somebody, step out of line in a way that, in my opinion, was obvious to not, like, obviously don't do that. Like you saw somebody do that last week, and then 5 minutes later, another dude does the exact same thing. And yet it's up to the boss to not be an ass and to not like yell at the employees. But also, if the boss just yelled at guy A for being on his phone during the meeting, and then guy B pulls out his phone 2 seconds later, like, what do you expect? And I think that's what it comes down to for me. Like, obviously, like, you want to manifest, and you want to like hope with all your heart that things are going to be exactly like you want. But the first step first is to make sure that, like, if I want to be top salesman, well, that opinion on new hire day versus today, I never want to be top salesman at a dealership. If I go back to the car sales world, no, I want to get promoted before I get be top salesman. I want to be a manager. I don't want to be top salesman. So I think that just goes to show, like, you have to manifest to get your goal, but you also have to be really open-minded, because, you get halfway to your goal. And like we're talking with the, compartmentalizing your goals, taking them step by step. You don't want to get to step 88 of 100 and then go, holy crap, I am up the complete wrong tree. So at least for me, a lot of it is like in my current job, I still don't know what my end goal is. Do I want to be a sales manager in that industry, or is the hours good and I'll just be top salesman? Like, is that my goal? Still don't know yet. Because what I do know is that I need to show up to that first customer appointment on Thursday. I need to sell them, because it's the small goal. That's the first step. But I know I want to be respected in the company. I guess that's my goal. But yeah, like keep an open mind, keep on your toes, because you never know, things could change.
Yeah.
Constantly fluctuating with any industry, with life, right? Things will come out. And did you cultivate an environment of respect, and did you give it your best? Because things are no guarantee. There's tomorrow there could be an event that could happen that would just make you not as passionate about the job, but it's about the systems that you lay in place. And there's this quote by James Clear of, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And here with your the way you're teaching these new hirees, and the cultivating that respect for the people, and ensuring that the way you treat another person, that's how you treat the next person, is optimal for just the days when you don't feel like there's a lot of willpower. You can just rely on, okay, what have I been doing? Because the answers are all there, right? It's
that's the part that killed me the most, is when towards the end of my career, when I was starting to get burnt out, and the guys that I trained were coming up to me and like feeding me my own mantra. And the part that, like, the dagger in my heart is like, I don't believe it anymore, though.
Yeah.
I don't believe it anymore. I got to get out. These guys are right. I can't have this attitude in this industry. I preached that on them for 3 months, and then now we're here, and I'm like, oh boy, that was the thing for me. It was all the new hires. Chris, why'd you leave? And in my head, I was like, dude, you told me to. I couldn't preach. I couldn't, I couldn't practice what I preached anymore. So it was time for me to leave, and it's a tough feeling, but it's kind of, it's relieving also. It's kind of that it's that next level of self-awareness of like, oh yeah, I have to act like that if I want to work here, but I don't want to act like that. Maybe I shouldn't work here. And it kind of clicks in your head and kind of let the baggage go.
I mean, we constantly change.
Yeah.
Okay? Like what we said last year will no longer hold true maybe now. Our priorities change, passions for certain things, and and it's important to go back to the source of, okay, what truly matters to you? Is this, and as you said, the you climbing up the right mountain? Is this truly what you want?
Yeah.
Or are you gonna regret it? It's constantly just trying to find that fulfilling pathway. Because regret is very powerful. Okay? And the quickest way to that is by doing nothing. But there's also another way where you can start a journey, but you're facing the wrong way. Right?
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
Yeah. So when it comes to the minds of children, Kassie, and like a lot of people really struggle with trying to connect with children these days, hey? Or I think that's always been the case. I know some of my friends, they just don't know how to talk to kids. I know you're pretty good at it.
I love talking to kids. I got no problem with kids.
Yeah. You guys are just I think we talked about it last time. I think it was Bryce's thing. It was 2 years ago. I just remember a conversation just about the deep stuff, I think we talked about the next generation, even though we were just in our early 20s.
And now we're in our mid 20s. Seriously.
Getting old.
Yeah. So what do you think of the most common misconceptions adults have about children, how children think and process information?
Well, I would say the underestimating of kids is a big one. I feel like adults just kind of have this like superior complex over children, or like, well, I know better, like you don't know anything about the world. But I don't think they realize like kids kind of in a way are humans before they're tainted by the world. They see it with like optimism and kind of like curiosity, which I feel like is kind of sad that as we get older, we lose that kind of sense of what the world is. And I think a lot of times if we just meet kids like on their level, they're going to be more reciprocate that kind of interaction. I think like in my experience, at least like working with kids, like I would just talk to them like another person. I wouldn't talk to them like they were a child. And I think kids really respect that, and they are like drawn to that because it's like you're not making them feel like you can't just have like a normal conversation with them. I'm not an authority figure in that moment. Like we can just be friends having a nice chat. Obviously there's boundaries there because you are an adult, but like you can still just be like, oh, how was your weekend? And then just have a nice conversation about it. You don't have to make it this weird dynamic between kids and adults.
Yeah, you don't have to teach a lesson in every single instance. You could just, like my brother, for instance, he likes this it's game. It's based on this game called Incredibox. They're called Sprunkies, and they're like literally like singing creatures. Yeah. And then there's like a scary version of it too. And you just place the characters and they sing. You could there's different combinations.
Yeah.
It's like My Singing Monsters, or
yeah. I kind of equate it to that, but it's like 2D and they're all just lined up.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah. And I'm talking about it with him, and he's telling me about it. It's like, oh, this guy's name's Gray, and this is binary, and I'm like, oh, tell me more. And he's very educated in the subject, and he's really serious, and kind of the curiosity that I just leaning in and just respecting him, even like, because then a lot of adults will just hear a kid and like, oh, are there any games on your phone? Like, no, buddy, they'll kind of roll their eyes and like, oh, I'm so much more superior than you because I'm in my 20s or 30s. And it's like, kids can feel it. Like, they don't like that vibe.
I've had it happen at work before where there's like a kid, little rugrat. He's bad behavior. Parents are chasing him around the dealership. And I mean, like, hey, man, you can't run like that. And when you say that to him, instead of being like, no, walking feet. Hey, you can't do that. The look they give you, they're like, it's almost as like it's like the first time they've been spoken to. They're like, oh, maybe I am being a bit foolish right now.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, stop. Okay.
Stop. That's really not appropriate at this time. Versus like, no, look with your eyes, not your hands. Like, I feel like sometimes people carry that juvenile conversation that you would speak to maybe like an 18-month-old. Because at that age, you are trying to simplify, stop, hot, fast, go, simple words so they can understand communication to keep them safe. But by the time, like I've seen some 4-year-olds where their parents are still like singing them a little song to put on their car seat. And it's like, if that's how the kid is comfortable, that's totally fine. That's between a mother and her kid. But if you can see that the kid is visibly like, oh my God, this sucks, you're kind of embarrassing the guy, like he probably so desperately wants to be treated with a little bit of respect. Probably why they act out. It's probably why they do things that are for older people, it's because they don't feel as respected, but just kind of depends on the kid, on the parent.
Yeah. I also think like, just get to know kids. Like, I think that's important. Ask them questions. Like they are people too. They have interests, they have whatever. So just because they're a kid doesn't mean they have those things. I think kids appreciate when you're like, oh, like, what do you like to do? Like, take the time to get to know them, because then they'll be like, oh, they actually care.
Yeah.
No,
I think a good example is as a teacher, if you ask a kid, like, what's your favorite movie? Well, you're going to get an answer. But if you say, okay, kids, we're playing the Spider-Man game, everyone get around, and like, there's going to be a kid there that hates Spider-Man, but you're never going to figure out why. And they're going to hate it. And you're going to go, what? This kid hates fun activity. What the hell's wrong with him? Really, it's just maybe you didn't personalize it to him. You just assumed all kids like Spider-Man because you're not. There's a really famous anecdote of that. I think he's a 14-year-old, the son of Kaiser Wilhelm I. He was the ambassador for Germany to Russia. So he's during the Victorian era, he's doing all of the interpolitics between two of the biggest European powers. He spoke like 8 languages. He's 14 years old. And it's because, his parents were like, well, we gave him the best teachers in the known world and he aced all his classes. So clearly he's smart. We'll send him to work. And he did fine. And then he grew up to end up becoming, can't remember exactly the history behind it,
But he's 14.
But he's 14,
already,
yeah. And he's advising like the most powerful, historically angriest militaries in Europe. He's telling them what to do. But it just goes to show, But if you say, oh no, you need to be 16 to drive a car. Well, how do you think 15-year-olds feel? They just probably feel like they're like a second-class citizen. But there's kids that were younger than them running the world. So Alexander the Great was like 17 when he started his conquest across Persia. Like,
So abolish age restrictions.
Not at all. Kids are stupid.
You see a 9-year-old just pull up in a Honda.
I would say, I think it's so good that you got to be a certain age, because I think like the brain develops understanding of responsibility. Yeah. I don't know if you can understand that your mortal hands are pioneering a vehicle that could take a life. I don't know if a 9-year-old really grasps that. So even if they can functionally drive the car, they probably still shouldn't drive the car. It's just, I don't think we should put an education ceiling on kids. I remember I was furious. A teacher that we went to, an ABJ teacher, and I won't say their name because I love this teacher, and I bet a lot of the viewers of this show love this teacher, but said one thing to me, and at the time I was like, gosh, I think that's a wrong viewpoint. I was 14 talking about politics in class, and they made a comment about like, oh, you haven't lived enough years to actually know what's going on, like on that specific issue. And of course, I won't say the issue. I won't say the teacher. Try to keep everything anonymous.
Chris has lived a long life. At 16.
I'm angry about that. No, but I just remember they're like, you haven't lived long enough to really have an opinion on that. And I'm still thinking to this day, and I remember the conversation. Now, my opinion has not changed a wee bit.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, like Chris V. No, I just remember thinking like, I think it's a little bit foolish. Also, it wasn't necessarily a super intellectually demanding class, so I was kind of like, it's not exactly like you're the smartest teacher in the school and you're kind of telling me what I can and can't know about and talk about. Yeah. It's kind of foolish, Fair. Don't limit kids, I think is a big thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. How can caregivers or educators better attune themselves to the emotional and cognitive needs of the children?
Well, I think that we need to acknowledge the differences of each student. And I think the education system's gotten a lot better with this, in regard to like kind of tailoring planning for each and every student and kind of having diverse learning styles and needs in the classroom. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's important that we kind of get to know each student, because they all have different interests, different needs, different strengths, things they're struggling with. So I think it's really important that as teachers, we kind of can accommodate that for kids and make sure that each kid has what they need. And I think like there's ways we can have an overall outcome for a lesson, but each student can do it in a different way. Like maybe one kid can't spell, so that's okay. Why can't they just like do it where they can do like speech to text on like a Word doc or something? It's kind of just making those accommodations so that everyone can participate and do it in their own way. And I think like the long-term goals of each student is going to look different for every person, right? So it's like, I don't think their journey has to look exactly the same to have the same outcome. It's like looking at what they're trying to achieve and how can we get them there based on what they're able to do. I think that's important.
This, David Goggins?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. He's the bald guy and he's in the Navy, and I'm sure you've seen clips of him running and just saying motivational stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, well, he's very high up on the self-improvement space and kind of the running space. Mm-hmm. And as a kid, he was labeled as a kid that had special needs and just special requirements to be able to proceed in the class. Yeah. And for the longest time, he told himself that because that's the way the world treated him. Mm-hmm. And he had to be put in special classes and everybody treated him like just he couldn't learn like the normal kids. But then now, let's get forward decades later, he's one of the most capable people in the world who's changed many lives.
Yeah.
And just certainly you cannot discount some kids just because they have a learning disability. I think there's a bunch of CEOs with dyslexia. Mm-hmm. Right? There's a bunch of lots of the billionaires that are autistic. Yeah. Lots of the founders of these multi-billion industries and companies, and they often had troubled childhoods, and the school system failed them because they just, maybe the resources weren't there, or maybe there's just the lack of understanding. But certainly every single kid may not be an actor that's going to be world renowned, or this super successful entrepreneur, or the doctor that's going to just undergo so many life-changing surgeries. But there is a role for that kid. And if you just if you give the kid the necessary resources and kind of that emotional support, the continuous effort of patience and love, they will grow up to be someone that will add to the world in a positive way. I certainly was lucky enough to have family and friends that to this day that still kind of nurture me and like me for who I am, and love is fostered. And I think back on the kids that I was friends with in high school, middle school, elementary, and their home life was rough. And some of them took solace and in school, where the teachers were nice to them. Maybe they had a good friend group. Maybe they were confident about their competence when it came to their academics. What if they didn't? Then I certainly met those kids too. And I always wonder, what if that kid just got enough love?
Yeah.
Like there's so many kids that pop up in my head. They're some former classmates. I'm like, maybe they wouldn't be just a degenerate, like for it's tough, because certainly you got to take accountability, and you can't be a victim for your entire life. But there's a lot of troubled people out there.
Oh, there's tons of troubled people, and you never know what was the set off, because there's a lot of people that, I think I almost feel like I'm like I don't even know what I'm saying when I'm saying this. I feel like everybody knows this, but there's a million different reasons why someone could have some kind of trauma that would prevent them from either fitting in socially or at work, or cause them to act out or lash out. But I feel like as a society, we've gotten a lot better at giving people a second chance, like giving people the understanding that they deserve, which I think is undeniably a good thing. But you're right. It is sad when you do see those people and you can identify like one or two marquee factors where it's like, if this person was a little bit less exposed to, let's say their older brother was a bad influence or something like that. Like there's a few people where you can pinpoint the exact moment where they kind of went down the dark trail.
Yeah.
And I think those are the hardest ones, because those are the ones where in your mind, maybe 10 years ago, I could have stepped in, you don't know until afterwards.
There's this guy in my bio class, or actually I went to middle school with him, and we didn't really hit it off up until grade 9 because we were in a science class together. And he rocked every single test without barely studying, and he would raise his hand up and he would ask, the teacher would call it university level questions. But he struggled with depression for the longest time, and like he was just very unsure of himself and his doubt, and he was very open with it. Like I'm really thankful for him. But it's just, then you think about kind of the home life that he had going on. It's just, man, like this guy was just had so much potential. Like I just, if only,
But you never know,
Yeah.
We're still only 23.
Yeah.
It's a long marathon
You never know.
go.
You never know.
Like I know for the ladies, I think it's slightly different. For the guys, though, our brains aren't even fully developed yet.
Yeah.
We got, I would always say that to my bosses whenever they'd say, "Oh, good job, Chris." I'd say, "Oh, and just wait till I have a full brain."
Yeah.
That's what I'd always hit them back with, because like we haven't even gotten started
until
yet.
my prefrontal cortex is fully developed. Yeah.
And that's the part of the brain that no, you're talking to somebody I didn't even take Bio 20, but I'm going to speak on this as if I know it's fact. No, but that's the part of your brain that culminates relationships and a lot of emotion, and like the way that not only the way that you process memory, but the way you process emotion is a lot of that part of the brain that isn't fully developed yet. That's why 23-year-old dudes get drunk and get into fistfights at bars, because we haven't fully understood our caring side yet. So you look at those people, and if the thing they were missing out on is love, maybe that last little bit of brain development will help them click in and realize that that's what they're missing and set them on a track to go and hunt after that, like, at least that's my perspective. I try to be optimistic about it, but you really don't know until you can play somebody's life back on tape, and you can go, oh, yeah, they did pull it off, so it's maybe why you don't count people out.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, there's this saying where it all makes sense in hindsight, but in the present, you don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
The things that have happened, like the way you guys clicked together back a couple of years ago, or the things that have happened and kind of with the job draining you and it didn't feel as fulfilling, it all makes sense now that you can look back and reflect.
Yeah,
but sure. At that, it was at that time where I overworked myself. I didn't get enough sleep. I should have went to that birthday party, but I overworked myself. Shouldn't have played video games at that time. Oh, I got that good grade because I studied, and you can pinpoint, and it all makes so much sense. But then now it's like, you don't know what's coming right in the future, but then it all makes sense in retrospect. Yeah. And I think it's just, when we're kids, none of it makes sense. Even right now, and am I making sense?
No, you are making sense. No, I was about to say it. Like, on top of that, I find that a lot where I find a lot of times in stressful situations, particularly at work, sometimes with my social life, but particularly at work, the sky will be falling, and I will admit it is a tough situation where someone is either going to lose a bunch of money, time, or respect. And those are always the tough ones, especially at work. Those are the three killers: money, time, and respect. That's if you're losing respect with a client, that's bad. If you're losing respect from your superiors, that's bad. If you're losing respect from your employees, that's bad. And same thing with time and money. Everyone knows those are valuable. But I think there's a lot of times where those have been at risk, and it's been a really tough situation. And I'm always very just like, it'll work out. And internally you're kind of screaming, but like, what else are you gonna do?
Have you experienced moments when you had an aha moment about a child's behavior or needs? What did it teach you about understanding their perspective?
That's a hard one. I feel like every day for sure. And I think, I don't know. I think it's just, like I said, kind of the little accomplishments with each student and kind of like what works and doesn't work. And I think the challenging thing with kids is like, it's not always going to be the same. Like, sometimes something will work one day and then the next day it's not going to work. But I think for me, like one time I had a student and he just kept running away from me, and I was just so frustrated, like couldn't get him to do anything. And I just took a day and we hung out in the library. I just played games with him and he had the best day. And then the next day, I was the only person that he wouldn't run away from. And the rest of the school year, he liked me. And everyone else he would run away from. But if I told him to do something, he would listen to me and he would do it. And I was like, oh, okay. I think we just needed a little breather to be like, it's going to be okay. He wanted a day off. I listened to him and he was like, all right, well, we're good now. We're on good terms. We're friends. So I think like kind of just realizing like kids they're people too. They're going to have days where they're not going to want to learn. You know what I mean? And I think giving them a little bit of leniency to be like, today's not my day. And we're like, okay, well, just today can be an easy day. Then tomorrow we're going to try again. Like every day is a new challenge, and it's kind of just adapting to what the challenges of that day are, I think. Yeah. I don't think there's like one particular aha moment I can think of, but I think like just acknowledging that like you are making a difference and those kids count on you being there to help them get through their day. You being there really does change the way their day goes. That you're there to help them And I think they know that at the end of the day, and they appreciate that. So I think, not getting too much in your head and being like, we're all here to work together. We're a team, and our goal is to make everybody happy, everybody learning. And I think even on days that doesn't work, you can still be like, well, we learned something. So at the end of the day, it's still a good day. Even if everything we tried didn't work, we still learned something. And I think that's really important. So,
well, the kid probably felt respect because you took the time to just chill with him, and he's given you the respect back.
Yeah.
Because a lot of kids, they test you. Hey, is this adult gonna treat me with respect, even if I lash out a little bit, even if I make it a little bit of a tumultuous time, but then you don't give in, and you still act like a leader, and you still give them the level of respect. You're gonna put down the foot of, we need to do the work and you need to behave, but at the same time, I still care about you and I still respect you. And that wins a lot of kids over, especially the ones with special needs.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, because they're so used to just adults giving them kind of the stern look and just giving them a hard time.
Yeah, I think a lot of times too, kids, they want that reaction, and they'll act out if they know you're going to get mad or flustered from them acting out. So I think like one of the funniest things that they tell us to do is like, if a kid's acting out, you're supposed to just avoid eye contact, like ignore them. And it looks crazy. You'll like looking in a classroom and a kid's like standing on the desk and all the teachers are looking the other way because they're not trying to give in to the attention of it. And it looks insane, but it works. Because if all these teachers are like, no, get down, the kid's going to keep doing it. But if they're like, all right, suit yourself, you can stand up there, the kid's going to be like, this isn't fun. I'm going to sit down now.
Yeah. It's like they want that attention. I remember when I was 5, I think I had just wanted this toy, and I was just pulling all the cards to get them to let me have it. Like just pulling my hair out, just screaming on the top of my lungs. But my mom usually gave in to get me to quiet down. But when I realized after some time that she wasn't going to give in to my tantrums of me just going ballistic, I just shut up. I'm like, okay, back in the car. Yeah. I know. I can't quite remember the specifics. I just remember that I tried my hardest, man, and that's when I realized that, I can't get what I want all the time.
Yeah.
As a kid, you realize this. You can't verbalize it.
Yeah.
You can't.
I remember my moment. I wanted, there was a red Hot Wheels and a blue Hot Wheels. My dad said, pick one. I didn't pick one and I got none.
Oh.
So I remember that.
Because you wanted both?
I wanted both.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to bite off more than I should chew.
Oh, yeah.
And never, ever again. Never again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next time we went, my dad said red or blue. I was blue. Easy.
You knew right away.
Yeah.
Give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Take a mile, yeah. Yeah. So that was an early learning experience for me. But I think I was like 4, like very, very young when that happened.
Do you guys still remember when you were? I know there's some crazy memories.
I read a thing that says you make them all up, but a couple of them
I disagree.
I know she really disagrees. I believe in the theory that you made them all up because I remember what the cars looked like, but come on. There's no way, right?
Yeah.
But maybe, I don't know. I personally think your brain kind of...
I don't know. There's things like I remember that like later in life I look back on pictures and like my memories match those, and I've never seen those pictures before.
Probably have though.
No, but I haven't. They're like pictures that have been...
Maybe you looked at the picture and it just aligned. You just changed the narrative.
I mean, I don't think so though. Like
she's right though. She's giving me some examples that are pretty like
vivid.
All right,
I think I had a really overactive imagination as a kid, and like I'm an only child, so I really had to like keep myself busy. Like I was always by myself, keeping myself busy. So I think because of that, it's like those memories I know are real. Like no one was there to help make those real.
I have one memory of me. I was 3 years old, and there was 3 ants crawling around on my hand, and one of them bit me, and my mom called the exterminator. The problem though is in my memory, the ants aren't walking like ants would walk. The three of them are walking in perfect little order in a circle for like 3 minutes straight on my hand. They wouldn't have done that in real life, so I definitely.
But in your memory.
But in my memory, they're like they're perfectly walking. But in real life, 3 ants wouldn't walk in a perfect circle.
What if they were though?
Well, that's the thing is if they could.
And this is like a crazy thing you should be talking about.
Yeah, maybe I discovered something new.
Yeah, maybe they marked you as their leader or something.
Or there's like a
Something
snack in the middle.
Yeah.
They were circulating.
But yeah, it is funny because I do have a couple. I have memories of me in the house I was born in, but I moved out of that house at 2. There's no way, you know. It's just that I find it funny because the only memories I have are memories that my mom has video angles of the places where they were formed. I don't know. I've never seen a picture of the kitchen, so I don't know I have no memories of the kitchen. I have tons of memories of the living room. That's because that's where all the family videos were taken. So I probably fabricated them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only God knows, I guess.
I just remember, like I don't condone violence, but my sister, you know, girls, they just mature quickly. She was 3 years older than me.
Yeah,
she was testing me, you know. She was like, we were sword fighting, and like she had like 4 inches on me, man. She was like 30 pounds, but she like called me a name. She did something that pissed me off. Like I was 6.
Flagrant
She
politics.
was 9, so I beat the shit out of her. Okay. Bam, bam. No, but no, like I don't definitely not my proudest moments, but you got to give me credit. Right?
I give you tons of credit.
No, my dad chased me with a belt right after.
Yeah,
so I definitely got some karma.
That's understandable.
But yeah, as kids, that often happened, and it's just I don't even know like what caused it. It's just it's just in my brain that we were in the kitchen area and just the plastic swords. But like, I was it anger? Was it? I forget a lot of the details. Yeah, I think it was justice. Yeah.
I do find it funny because there's and especially as a kid, like when you're getting disciplined too, I feel like those always become core memories, and I think that we evolved to do that. But I also have memories as a kid. I have 1 or 2. I have one of my cousin Lindsay, which Cassie actually knows. It again, small world. Cassie and Lindsay were on like the same swim club when they were like in elementary.
We went to school together.
Yeah, they went to school together in like elementary school, and then anyways, small world. But no, but I remember my cousin Lindsay made a comment about me being short because she's taller than me, and it really did not bother me. Like it really did not.
Sure.
But I remember it like it was yesterday. It didn't bother me at all. You know, I just remember my Uncle Crystal like went off on her.
Yeah, and
I kind of felt bad, but looking at it in retrospect, you probably shouldn't say things like that to people.
Yeah.
It was something along the lines of like, I can't believe how short you are. like it wasn't even like this ride might not work for you. It wasn't like subtle. It was just straight up like,
you're just short.
Yeah, it was just like, they make him that size? Like that's kind of what she was saying. And my Uncle Chris thought it was like the worst thing ever. And I remember as a kid, I was almost embarrassed that she was getting in trouble because I was kind of like,
it's like I didn't care.
Yeah,
I don't.
Well, like, it was a mean thing to say, but honestly, you could have called her off once. But we were at Disneyland too. That was the thing. We were like in line to go to Disneyland.
Was she mad that you couldn't go on a ride or something?
No.
Oh.
It was completely unprovoked when she said it, which is crazy and hilarious.
It's just out of nowhere.
we were very young. You know, kids say the darnest things. But I remember it was like we were like 5 minutes away from seeing the inside of Disneyland for the first time. My Uncle Chris is like, "Don't you ever!" I felt so bad. I was like, "Oh, come on! It's the happiest place on earth. We're like 2 minutes away. Just everyone calm down."
So funny. Yeah, I opposite of that. I remember I was so I was really proud. I thought I looked really handsome in the gel that I used for the first time. I never gelled my hair. I always had a bowl cut.
Oh yeah.
No, I was okay with the bowl cut, but I wanted something new. There was it was a transitioning period in my life. I was going from grade 1 to grade 2.
Big time.
Yeah, big time. And just there's a celebration, some birthday. I don't remember. I was 7 at the time, and just all the family members came, aunts, uncles, grandpa was there, grandpa. It was good. I had my shades on, had my red and white shirt with the collar.
Oh, power shirt.
Yeah. So I was walking in there, I own the place. But my uncle, he looked at me. He's like, "Whoa, what kind of hairstyle?" And he laughed his ass off. I remember being so embarrassed. Just
Oh.
yeah,
Damn.
and I never went back to that hairstyle, and I ruined my night. It was just like I was 7, and he laughed at me. So,
Oh.
and then he didn't even probably think twice about it
No,
after.
because again, underestimating kids though. A lot
But,
of time,
like,
adults
they
don't realize how big
remember.
the impact that.
yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
but no, and then sometimes I don't care.
No, no.
but like
no, you
know
don't
what I
care at
mean?
all.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
February 26th in grade 1. I don't care though.
I've had to seek therapy for it. yeah, but no, yeah,
Listen,
Child-
Uncle, he doesn't care.
yeah,
He's over it.
yeah. No. I actually just saw him recently, but I still carry the grudge.
Yes.
No, it
Yeah.
is funny though, because it's like if a baby throws up on themselves and you laugh at the baby's not going to be upset about that.
Yeah,
But what is the age in which you got to worry about hurting the self confidence of a kid?
I think it's like 5, 6.
Yeah, I think in my class it's like 7 that they kind of start having like
I think it's way
So
earlier
you-
than that.
perception
Like,
of themselves.
you become
and
sentient around that
Yeah.
age.
I was
you
embarrassed about
care
how
what
I
others think of you.
my dad taught me how to hold a pencil in kindergarten. I was embarrassed about the way I held a pencil.
Really?
Yeah, the way he made a comment about my grip, and I was pretty like, damn.
Yeah, this.
Like in kindergarten, like I think it's actually quite young. I think as early as 3.
Yeah,
Me and Cassie were talking about it. Cats can feel embarrassment.
cats.
You know?
Can
Cats,
they?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like if they screw something up in front of people that they're acclimatized to being around, they will be like, "Oh crap," and they won't look at you because, like, if they go to make a jump,
They'll go like hide away.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'cause
like
they
if
get
they're like a little
embarrassed.
too fat and they miss up a jump that they've been making since they were a kitten, they will like, "No, that didn't happen." They'll go like hide
Really?
away and be sad.
What
Yeah.
about dogs?
Same.
I
Dogs
guarantee.
get
Yeah.
embarrassed too.
Yeah, it'd be the same thing
Yeah.
for dogs. Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
they always say that like dogs and cats are similar to what like a toddler in mental capacity. So
Mm.
therefore, a toddler can probably.
Yeah.
I bet there's toddlers out there that are embarrassed about the way they're like taking their first steps. You know?
Really?
Yeah, I don't know that. But
No, speaking of animals being embarrassed, got my Milo, the white big Marima Kavash. He's like pretty much like a Great Pyrenees.
okay.
But yeah, some days where just he looks mad, and I don't know what I did, and like I'll come for a kiss. Usually I kiss him on the left and the right, but like there's times where I kiss him on the left, and then I go for the right, and he moves his head away. Like he does that, and I'm like, yeah. And then there's days where he doesn't move it, and he's smiling.
Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could clearly tell when
You can tell,
when he's pissed. Yeah.
I wonder
Yeah.
why it's making him
Yeah.
mad.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if only you could just know, right?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
Cassie made me watch it's more like a documentary than a movie.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
About
called
kittens on Netflix.
No.
No.
Oh my, because my Australian sisters, and they're obsessed with animals.
Oh,
and so
really?
they made me watch.
this is
them.
I want
it's
to watch
called-
that now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, oh, great. That's what I'm watching tonight. Thanks, Adam. No, it's called My Octopus Teacher, and it's about a guy, and I won't spoil it, but for the viewers at home, you gotta watch this. It was like, it was almost like mind-shatteringly cool. They say octopi are some of the most intelligent creatures out there, to the point where maybe we shouldn't even eat them because they're so intelligent. We estimate an octopus has about the same mental capacity as like a human with about 80 IQ. And that's
Oh,
not
wow.
that low. We all know people that have like IQs like that. Like they're octopi are very smart creatures. And the basic premise, and again, I won't spoil anything, he just goes and visits an octopus once a day, every single day for a year. And that's what he does. And he learns how this octopus lives. And the octopus, you can actually see, starts to connect with him.
Yeah, they
And-
like build a relationship.
Yeah, they like build a relationship, him and this
It's
octopus.
crazy.
And it's
like
you-
lovers.
no.
No, like
It's not
friendship.
weird. No.
No.
It's definitely not like that. I think it's the documentary really frames it as if it's almost like alien contact. Like
Yeah.
because like there are tons of wolves out there who know a hunter that's always on their land every October, and they're like, oh yeah, it's a human. I've seen humans. I know cars, but an octopus probably there's a couple divers they've seen maybe. There's octopus are not endangered at all. There's actually billions of them all over the world. Like the Mediterranean is filled with them. So there's probably, again, billions of octopi out there who have never seen a human before. But it's interesting because being one of the smartest creatures, this animal has never seen a human before, or whenever they have, they're trying to kill them. but they can still form that connection. And the octopus is smart. You can't just, the octopus with its intelligence, you can't just bribe it with a piece of food and it'll come hang out with you, like maybe like a dog would or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, this is the food, man. Like they're deeply skeptical and they have their own ways. They live very differently than us. Humans, our blood is red because of the iron. That's how we transmit like oxygen through our bloodstream. Again, not a biologist person, but like octopus, they have copper-based blood, so it's blue. Like just very different. They're very, very different animals. And this show is it's very cool because you can see how something so alien to us, something so different than us, and this human, they form a non-verbal relationship. They kind of understand each other. Of course, the octopus never like signed off a piece of paper saying, "Yeah, he did it. He understood me." But you can kind of see in the eyes, It's
cool too. Sorry to interrupt, but it's because they explain like the friendship between him and the octopus. Like the octopus isn't getting anything out of it other than like human connection. Yeah, and it kind of touches on the importance of connection for any living being on Earth. Yeah,
it's true because that was actually a huge thing. I totally forgot about that. Yeah. By the midpoint of the documentary, it really shows that the octopus, there's no like survival benefit. The human dude never tries to step in for the octopus. He's purely curious about the octopus, and the octopus reciprocates that curiosity. And their entire relationship was one where there was no inherent, like
they weren't gaining anything.
No one was gaining anything from the other, but this dude was driven to go visit the octopus every day, and the octopus was driven to keep the relationship going.
Process is the reward.
Yeah, the process is the reward.
The friendship. Yeah,
what a tie back, eh?
Yeah, man. Maybe I should adopt an octopus.
Yeah, give her.
Say.
Yeah,
is that allowed?
Well, again, given the fact that they're super intelligent, octopus in captivity are also. There's a story from the San Diego Zoo. Their mackerel kept on going missing, and they found out the octopus memorized the security guard's night patterns, and the octopus would wait for the security guard to go on break, hop out of the tank, and then go steal a fish, hide the bones in a vent that was away from the tank so the humans wouldn't see the bones, and then slide back into their tank. They're very smart. It would probably be very hard owning a pet octopus.
I need this octopus to write my own midterms, man.
Yeah, seriously. That's good. Screw AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, back to
yeah. So let's talk about the long-term lifestyle of schooling for 6 years for a profession that you aren't sure you're 100% in it for, but you're making moves to improve your ability in the field. Then you could kind of just, for the context of life as well, right? There's definitely uncertainty. Mm-hmm. Everything.
Yeah.
I think like even going to school, you don't know if it's going to be 100% the answer because as we mentioned earlier, things change. You feel different for what once was something that really made you get out of bed in the morning that just you wanted to get started up on, which is video games for me, Yeah. But now it's just it's kind of the reward at the end of the day instead of the first thing in the morning. Mm-hmm. It's not the long term kind of. Yeah. What strategies do you use to maintain motivation and focus during long term education, especially when doubts about your fit for the field arise?
I would say for me, I've been very lucky in post-secondary. Like I've really enjoyed most of the time, at least what I'm learning. Like, so it's fun for me. I would say in the program I'm in now, I love it because it's what I enjoy. I only get to take classes on education. I don't have to take like a language or something you're not interested in just for the credit. So I think that helps when you're really interested in what you're learning. It kind of motivates you to want to learn more because it's kind of, you enjoy it, right? But I think when you're in those courses where you're like, this sucks, like, what am I going to do here? It's just kind of, okay, I just got to get through it, taking one assignment at a time. Because I've had those where it's like, this is the worst class. And I don't know. It's hard, but I think kind of just looking more long-term, like, hey, just got to suck it up, push through. And when you think about it, like semesters aren't that long. So if you're stuck in one course where you're like, this is not going well.
4 months.
Yeah, you just got to push through, get through it, do your best. You just need to pass. It's easy to get degrees, as they say. So it's like, as long as you pass, you're good.
Perfect mindset.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Only excel on what counts.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know if that's a good mindset, but
Well, it might be
sometimes.
How do
Can't
you
always do it.
evaluate and address gaps in your skills or knowledge to feel more capable and confident in your chosen profession?
Well, I feel like for me, for the education realm, I think like self-reflection is the most important, you know? One thing they kind of teach us to do as teachers every day is that you should have like a journal. And at the end of the day, you kind of write what worked, what didn't, what you can do to improve. And they kind of recommend touching base with your students too, kind of asking them, what did you like today that we did? What did you not like? And they kind of recommend doing like exit slips for students. So at the end of each lesson, students can either answer a question based off like something you did together, or even just feedback, just to kind of gauge if students were like grasping what they are supposed to be learning, or if they even were just like if they enjoyed it. So I think things like that are really important, kind of just always learning. They always kind of frame it as like lifelong learners, which I like. Like you should never stop learning and you'll never be at like max capacity with what you can know. So I think as people in any job or any career, whatever, you know, you're always changing, you're always learning, you can always be better. And I think that's important mindset to have. How can I do better next time, you know?
We're constantly learning every single day, hey?
Yeah.
And I think the idea of neuroplasticity has just come out, where they thought prior to neuroplasticity, that the brain could not evolve after a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you hit a certain age, I forget what it was, then that's it. Like all the trauma and all the kind of choices that you've made, all of the choices leading up to the moment, that's final. That's you now.
Mm-hmm.
But then what they've realized now is, oh, you could actually take up new mindsets and try different cuisines and actually move to a country and adapt and live your life even in your 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
Right. And then going to teaching, there's just the top part about self-reflection too, is this constant improvement with every single day that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it might not be obvious as to how much you've actually learned,
Mm-hmm.
but if you talk to someone who's had no idea or has had no experience with sales, who's had no experience with teaching,
Mm-hmm.
you could tell how much knowledge you have just by, if they ask what they need to know.
I think a great example of that, because I think a lot of that knowledge is referred to as tacit knowledge. So instead of like knowing the capital of Greece, tacit knowledge is like on the job things, or you could even say kind of like inside jokes within a work community. And I know within sales, it's very easy to identify somebody who's maybe a little bit of a poser about the duration that they've been in sales based on how the way they communicate and specifically the language that they use. And I feel like it would probably be the exact same with teaching. And I know a personal example that came up is my mom works in healthcare, and the Alberta healthcare computer is called Netcare. We just set it up a couple years ago. Super awesome. Go thank your local AHS employee, whatever. But whenever I had a car accident, I've been seeing the doctors just for a couple checks. Everything seems fine so far. But whenever I talk to the doctors and I mention, oh yeah, the ambulance mentioned that they saw an arrhythmia, but they never uploaded it to Netcare. That sentence, when I say it to a nurse, they instantly know, okay. And I don't have to baby this guy through the process. He's probably got someone at home who's telling him what to do. And instantly there you can see their tone change when they're talking to me about my healthcare. They know I'm not like freaked out or whatever. They understand that I understand the situation I'm in. And I feel like, yeah, in our careers, there's a lot of similar things where you'll speak to somebody, either somebody who's working in the field or somebody that's a student of the field,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll say something and that alarm goes off like, oh my God, I hope this person doesn't stay the course and end up being a teacher, because I can't believe that that's their mindset on this or whatever, something like that.
I ran into a person that we went to high school with, and she was doing a dual degree for psychology and bio or something like that. And I asked her why she wanted to get into psychology, and I think she's in the health care field. She said for the money, and I'm like, maybe that's not. And then it's been confirmed many times after talking to her that that's just what she was chasing for, and I'm like, is that the right reason? I don't know. I'd feel bad for.
It depends, because if they are able to expertly help their patients, and they just don't care once the clock is done and the patients are out of the office, they're like, that was a load of nonsense.
Yeah.
If it's helping people, who cares if they're only in it for the money?
But maybe long term.
But I know, but can they really do that? Can anyone really?
I think for me personally, if I just prioritize the money, right? Is that
look at my career? Yeah. Look at sales. Like if somebody's going to get into sales and they wholeheartedly hate all of their customers, don't believe in the product that they're selling, those people, we say they fire themselves. They walk out, because you can't really show up to work every single day.
You gotta be genuine.
You kind of have to be genuine, even if you're like a greasy car salesman. At the end of the day, you're still going to work for a brand that you at least feel confident enough selling.
Yeah.
Very rarely a salesman is going to sell a product they think is a complete lie, just because it's hard to put on that sales face if you think it's BS,
Yeah. Before the class starts, if you're already dreading the class and kind of the kids that will ask questions that that are dumb and you don't have the patience for it, if you're already ruminating on the sales aspect, I gotta cold call some people, I gotta do some emails, and then you finally do it, that just makes it so much heavier. You know what I mean? Like, it's like if I had to go to school and I didn't enjoy it, like, sure, I could probably get through it.
Yeah.
But it would be like strapping 400 pounds on my back and doing it. I don't know. Like if the podcast, if before you guys came, I was like, oh God, I could do a podcast. Fuck.
You don't have to, Alvin.
I could be playing video games right now. I could be watching Tyler 1, League of Legends. Be watching some XQC.
Yeah.
I don't watch XQC, but I do love Tyler 1 though.
Oh, there you go.
But it's just something with just being passionate about it. Yeah. But rooted in reality.
Rooted in reality, of course. Yeah.
It can't always be fun.
Yeah. Like I can't tell you the amount of times somebody in my life has told me I should be an artist, because I love to draw, and at work I will spend like I go through phases with drawing where like it'll be like a January 8th, I start drawing a picture and I don't finish it until like February 20th, because I only put in like 30 minutes a day. But there's a lot of hours into it, and I would consider myself a novice drawer. So at work, people are like, holy crap, because nobody else draws like that. Like, why aren't you an artist?
You should do your own podcast.
Yeah.
I think sorry to interrupt you.
See, there we go. Though. It's already...
you communicate very well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But it was that's what it was with
with being an artist.
Yeah, with being an artist, they'd always tell, be an artist, be an artist, be an artist. I'd say, no, man. Like, I think it's good to chase your dream, but you have to be grounded in reality. And maybe for me, it's also because I don't really want to be an artist. Maybe I don't really believe I make impactful art. I draw cars. There's a lot of people who already do that, but something like a podcast, that does sound interesting to me as well. But again, you have to be rooted in reality. I'm not going to quit my job and be like, I'll go buy a couple mics and it takes a lot of work.
Oh, dude, it's grueling.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I can imagine. I was talking to my family about that, and they're like, oh, you're going to the podcast again. I was like, how many subscribers is he at? I was like, oh yeah, here's the numbers. And they're like, oh yeah, it's a lot more than last time. I was like, oh yeah. It's your hardest subscribers are always like your first 100, they say. And then the people who have 100, it's your first 1,000. And
I think just it really depends on kind of what you want out of an occupation or a passion project. Because for me, certainly placing the numbers as a priority versus actually just enjoying the guests and having fun and talking about how octopi are smart and just childhood memories certainly makes the process so enjoyable versus going, oh yeah, I gotta replace Joe Rogan, I gotta make sure I get the most hits. but then like certainly it's hard to kind of the numbers do kind of matter and kind of you attach yourself to it. But
Yeah.
by telling yourself kind of, okay, this is what matters. Kind of we'll look back, even if it doesn't turn out well, we'll look back and just, it's just a funny conversation. I said the context of our imaginations for the people here, some people that have come on here, mostly we're in our 20s. And then we look back a decade later and it's like, whoa, like I was so young and naive, or I talked like that.
It's funny too. You mentioned that because in my profession, I know I've shown a bunch of them to Cassie. We used to make videos for the customer. So the customer sends an email. I'm interested in this truck. Here's the truck. Hey, Randy, how you doing? And a couple of mine, I went like way above and beyond on the video. And there's this one in particular. I remember specifically, his name is Tyler, and he was buying a Ford Bronco Sport, little SUV. And I got my coworkers to bury me in a snowbank. And I popped out of the snowbank, and the bit was I had like 2 sets of gloves on, and I had an ice scraper on me, and I was like, "Look at how prepared I am for winter, Tyler. I know you like to be prepared. This is the perfect vehicle for someone that likes to be prepared. Come down to my dealership." He didn't even come down.
Were you in a suit?
No, I was in a snowsuit.
Oh, okay.
And that was part of the thing too.
Okay.
I was at the time very out of the box thinking. I was wearing like a shirt that had like a floral pattern, and I was like. And I unzipped it and I was like, look, I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt and snow pants at the same time. I also like to be prepared. And that was kind of the bit. He didn't buy the car, but he called me and he told me how great the video was. And then in my job interview for this company I just applied for, I actually included the video on the last slide. And I sat there very awkwardly because I thought they'd be more like sales managers at a dealership, when every sales manager I've showed that to absolutely loves that video. They're like, that's the most creative thing we've seen in the industry.
Come on in.
Yeah. But these guys were a lot more serious. And then when the last slide is coming, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I put that. But they watched it and they still liked it. And I was honest with them. They're like, so did you buy the car? Like, no. But it's not what it's about. I don't make the videos to sell the cars. I make the videos so that selling cars is fun.
Yeah.
The video doesn't have to sell the car for me.
How, would the question that always comes to mind is, would you still do it if you weren't getting paid?
No.
Right. Yeah.
It's really hard and it's not fun. But
no. Like, the video aspect, and like, would you still hold that close to your heart? Like, is it something meaningful to you?
Absolutely. Because we actually took it out of our process a couple months after I shot that snowbank video. And even though I was working for the same company at the Windermere dealership, they still shot the videos, but we all uploaded on the same YouTube channel. And when you're uploading half of the videos for a 24-person sales team, it's obvious that the dealership isn't uploading the videos. Yeah. I started uploading them on my own channel, and the managers didn't even ask me. A lot of the time, they didn't even know I was shooting the videos. I loved it because it was a quick way where in 2 minutes, I could show that I'm willing to give you, the individual customer, 2 minutes of my time. So that's the business reward. But the personal benefit is, it took me into the office. I got to go screw around with my buddy. We shot a quick little video. And sometimes when the customer would come in, it's almost like they already knew me. Like, oh yeah, I'm looking for, and I'd see them at the reception desk. And I knew I had like a 3:30 coming in, and it's 3:30. And they'd like point at me from across the room.
This guy.
That's the guy. Yeah. They forgot my name, but they remembered my face. So for me, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I would do it even if they didn't tell me to. And I've already thought about it in this new job that I'm working on. They have no social media, it's all about like going to like some pipeline company and selling them a uniform. It's not like car sales, but I'm still going to make videos.
To transform the entire culture there, Chris.
Exactly. But because honest to God, I think people hate salesmen. So if you show them that you're different, they'll buy off of you. And that's always been true. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you share an example of a pivotal moments when you reassessed your path and made adjustments to align better with your strengths or interests?
You want to go first?
Yeah. I guess I could go with what kind of made me want to go into education. In high school, I struggled with writing. Like, I just could not figure out how to write an essay to save my life. Like, I think I just kind of had not the best teachers going through junior high school. So they just like, the way they explained things, I was like, this makes no sense to me. And then in high school, I had a teacher that just took the time to explain it to me differently, and it clicked in my brain. And I was like, oh, it makes so much sense. And then I loved writing, and my first degree is in English, and it's like my favorite thing of all time. And I think because of that, I was like, oh, I want to be that for somebody, to show them that, like, just because like you might not learn something the way everybody else, or at least the majority of people do, doesn't mean there isn't a way you can't learn it, you know? And like everybody is able to learn, and it's just kind of taking the time to like be like, I'll teach it to you differently. You know, that teacher cared enough about me as a student to take the time to just make it make sense for me and kind of make me realize I was never dumb. I always thought growing up I was just like not as smart as my peers because I just learned differently. And then from that teacher, it kind of made me realize I was never dumb. I just learned differently. And I think that really inspired me to kind of be an advocate for students. You know, everybody can learn. Yeah. And then that kind of just shaped my whole life after high school. I kind of was like, yep, that's what I'm going to do. I want to be that for somebody.
That's what I learned recently is like I had this narrative growing up that sometimes I'd be sitting in class and I just wouldn't retain anything because my mind would be just that girl that I really wanted to like me, or kind of the friend group I just really wanted to be cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also really wanted good grades.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh gosh, I couldn't pay attention. Now going back to kind of in retrospect, it all makes sense. And then, and at the time I didn't know it, but all I did was play video games on my spare time and just a bunch of kind of TikTok-esque videos of just one hit Mr. Beast after the other. And that's why I couldn't pay attention in class, because it just like the slow environment, and it just didn't, it wasn't until I started actually applying myself to reading books, and just no matter how uncomfortable I got, I just read the book. And there's a very supportive LA teacher. His name is Mr. Hermata, and he was just so supportive, and he just listened to what I had to say and read my writing for what it was. And then that motivated me to read more and improve more. And same with the teachers in math and science, where I just asked questions and they really supplemented my learning. Yeah. And it's just, we learn in so many ways, right? For some people, they can go about it and they can just read the entire textbook. That works for them. Some people, like for me, I like to create narratives in my head. Like in the brain, there's a area called Broca's area, and it's about speech comprehension. And the way I remember that is broke bitches speak, something like that. And that's just how like something Broca's area broke.
But
right?
Isn't it funny though that in your head you had a thing that worked as a string of sentence, but now you don't even need to remember the string. You're just like, oh yeah, broke bitches. That means Broca's area.
Broca's area.
It's obvious.
Yeah.
But isn't that funny though? You know, like the way I bet a little bit of the hardship in reading and understanding that material, especially at a time in your life where, like all of us, forever, you know, trying to make your way. I bet it was very easy. It's very easy to give up on those kind of things, but I think that's just an amazing example of a way where you took the way that you spoke and you used it to memorize a way that like an educated professional that wrote this paper on it. You're like, oh yeah, it's easy peasy.
Because I'm sure you guys have heard many people say, oh, they could never read a book because every time they read a page, it's like they read nothing.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I was completely the same, and I
feel like everyone can relate to that.
Yeah,
to
everybody to an extent. And there's like the difficulty of the book, but it's just how does it work for you? Maybe you can just, for me, having a narrative and just going slowly, taking your time with the book to fully understand it. Or maybe that's just not the way you learn. Maybe you'd have to listen to an audiobook. Maybe, and there's a lot of people with dyslexia who have taken up writing, which is just crazy. I think this one woman with dyslexia who was just like a world-renowned writer. Isn't that just so ironic?
Funny,
right?
Eh?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like you'd expect this person to choose another profession.
But you see that a lot of the time. I'm probably the most guilty of having what I call, and I say it in a negative light, even though I don't think it's a negative thing, is having like a YouTube knowledge of a lot of subjects. A lot of things that I will talk to somebody about, and I'll be able to go off for 30 minutes, and I have never ever 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 read a word other than the YouTube title for a video about that. Like that thing about the 14-year-old who know all those different languages. That was in a YouTube video I saw. I didn't read any press release or anything like that. But however, it's I think it's beneficial because I happen to retain an insane amount of that info. I've learned how to. I had a conversation today with and Kassie was there. I was doing some work training, and they were talking about college football, and I was able to talk a little bit about college football because I've been trying to watch some videos on football so that I can discuss with my good friend Cameron about football more because I know he just loves it. So I've been watching some videos so that I can learn a little bit about the culture. And here I am talking with some dude from Kentucky, and he like vehemently hates Alabama, and I understand why. And it's just because I watched a YouTube video, but it helped me at work. You know, I'm able to relate to this dude that's half a continent away and then because I was able to get into the conversation, I didn't have my hat on at the time. They're like, "Oh, you must be an Oilers fan." I was like, "Absolutely." And I'm talking to a room of 3 people that I can tell they only watch football. They would never watch hockey. The one guy said his wife won't let him watch hockey. And I'm talking to them about hockey, and they're giving me my 30 seconds of time. But that's only because I was willing to invest in their interest. And there's a ton of things like that. I only honestly got interested in hockey so I'd have something to talk to my dad about. I was sick and tired of talking about video games with him. Like, I need something else. So now we talk about hockey. But it just goes to show there's the YouTube knowledge, you can't use that to profess somebody take medical advice, you know? Like, oh, I watched a video on this, therefore you should do this. But you can learn a lot of little tidbit facts that you can mesh into a worldview that will, when you get given new information, let's say a world event happens, you can say, well, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and in the story of the YouTube video, it usually goes like this. So it usually follows this kind of path.
There's certainly a little bit of a stigma for people talking about a subject just because they don't have a PhD on that subject. Yeah. Like you and I could, if we're just passionate about quantum physics, like why can't we have a conversation about it? We may be wrong, but we can be corrected through learning. And this is how knowledge gets passed on and gets cultivated and gets sharpened.
Yeah, for sure.
As if we keep talking about it and that we may not be experts.
No.
Right about like, well, maybe we'll never be experts because there's just so much information out there and it's constantly advancing unless you specialize in that field.
Yeah.
It's just so much work. But just talking about it with someone, you're increasing your knowledge. And I think the root of kind of my life, the way I determine whether something's long-term is if it establishes connection, if I feel fulfilled. And usually just talking to someone that checks the box, right? Yeah. Granted, it's rooted in just respect. Certainly you could. I've watched some of those like videos where it's just, I don't know why sometimes I see them on my feed, just guys fighting and just shouting matches. And
I hate those and I watch them. I watch them.
I'm like, why do I like this so much?
And it disturbs me too. Yeah. It happens to me all the time on Twitter where I'm watching a video and I'm so angry that I finished watching it. I hate it.
It's like this guy comes out of his car and just smacks the other guy.
Yeah. And you're like, his head hit the ground and
it's
but
like,
you gotta watch it again to make sure it hit it that hard.
Is he
this is crazy that you guys watched that.
No, but that's the problem.
I think is that a guy thing?
I think it's a guy thing more so. I think every
me
guy.
with reality TV where I'm like, I find it so entertaining to just watch two girls yell at each other.
Because she watches reality TV and I can't understand it. I can't understand
That's good.
I'm like, how does Kassie watch reality TV? And then I see a video of a dude getting like his head blown off and I'm like, oh.
Look at this. Don't show me that.
This is terrible. Why do I watch this? Why are you watching that? But it's because as humans, there's a reason they make that content. There's a reason the guy on Twitter posted that.
Well, it's high demand, right?
Yeah.
Like if there's a low supply and there's high demand, people release some of that stuff.
Yeah, it made it onto your feed somehow.
Yeah.
You know? You kind of told it to go there.
I mean, we're casting the vote.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like I know a lot of people complain that, I watch all this stuff about YouTube and it's all just senseless. Like, you're part of the problem.
You're watching senseless YouTube content.
It's because
It's big time. And Cassie knows this. I don't listen to music a lot when I drive either. What I've started to do recently is I'll put on a YouTube video and I will listen to it on the way home. And my recent ones, and again, this is, I'd say, unproductive and advice, but they've all been about people who've been they're like card counters. And it's all about like their story of going from somebody who just found out about counting cards to like scamming Vegas for millions of dollars.
I actually listened to he was based off the movie 21.
Oh yeah.
Forget his name, but he gets kicked out of every single casino.
Totally.
And after a while,
that's what I've been watching for the past 2 weeks. It's been these videos. And the thing I'm interested in isn't, I don't think I'm going to go out there and beat the casino, because in all the stories they lose. But I find it very cool, the methods that some of these guys scam the casino out with, and the methods the casinos use to catch them. That in of itself is an amazing study of psychology.
And then they pass it all to other casinos, saying,
Yes.
"Hey, watch out for this guy.
Yeah, there's one I saw where the guy was minting slot machine tokens that were worth in between $10 and $25 or $10 and $50, and he was a jeweler. And what he would do is he would just make his own coins, go to the casino, play them all, and whatever he won, he would take home. But the idea is that he was making his own coins for a fraction of the price at the casino. He got away with this, they say, for an unknown amount of time for a completely unknown amount of money. When they finally threw him in jail, the thing they caught him on is the casino has a video of him putting a $10 coin into the slot, and the machine doesn't give him a $10 credit, and he doesn't complain. And they go, if that was his money, he would have complained, but it has to be fake money, and that's what they caught him on. And that's why I listen to those videos, because to me, the psychological game of the people who are running the knowingly rigged game and the people who are trying to legally cheat and aren't allowed to legally cheat, it's that kind of back and forth. I find it very interesting.
Yeah.
And it just so happens there's a ton of YouTube videos about it. So they're about 15 minutes long, and my commute's 15 minutes. So yeah, but
win-win. What about you, Cassie? What do you like reality TV?
I don't know. I feel like it's great to just, I find it therapeutic almost to like relax from the day as you watch other people hash out their problems and you're like, oh, my life could be so much worse. I don't have to scream at people.
Is it because it's so superficial that it's like, why are they fighting? It's like, it's not only it's entertaining because it's kind of deep, but it's not.
Yeah.
If you guys don't, like, the solution is right in front of you of forgiveness, and it's not that big of a deal, and you guys can come to a compromise.
I think Cassie knows if I'm in a bad mood at the end of the day and she tries to tell me about one of her reality TV things, if I'm like tired, I'm like, why do they hang out together then? That's kind of my reaction.
All they do is fight and talk shit about each other.
It's like, it seems like they're not good for each other. They shouldn't hang out. But when I'm not tired of being a grumpy ass, I'm a little more like, oh yeah, I can't believe she did that. Like, I can play into it a bit more.
Like when I listen to my sister and like when it's about drama, it's like she'll really hone in.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, what? She did that?
Yeah.
No way. Like, tell me more.
Yeah.
And that's when we have those the long conversations.
It's good though. It's even if it's something you're not entirely interested in, you should be for the sake of your family.
Yeah. But then it's like, you know what?
My dad doesn't. My dad is a very practical person when it comes to that kind of stuff. My dad does not hang out with anyone that bothers him.
Yeah.
And my dad does not bother anybody. He's a very just like
peaceful.
Yeah, peaceful. He's at peace with himself. He knows what he wants. Yeah. And the biggest thing that's caving my dad's world in right now is in the next 5 days, he's at some point going to have to clean the garage. But that's, other than that, he's kind of, doing his own thing.
Dope.
I feel like Cassie can kind of attest. That's kind of my dad's character. He's very, if everything's good, he's good. He doesn't make a big deal if he doesn't have to.
The point. But if there's something that needs to be handled,
the thing is that, like, because of that, he doesn't, when he listens to my mom's work stress, he's very solution oriented. He doesn't like that feeling of the world is falling apart. He feels like he has to help it. And if he feels like he's supposed to just listen and he can't help it, that's hard for him. But for me, I like doing that kind of stuff. So I end up being the person my mom talks to whenever she has work drama. And it's the same for...
Yeah.
And now I know all the terms and I know all the whatever. So,
Chris is you're one of the people that would just listen to anyone, and just the way I don't know I think it's the eyes, man. Like, anytime I tell Chris something, like, it looks like he's interested, right? I feel like I've never talked to Chris, and I've never been once like, did he actually find what I said interesting? Like, I feel like that's what draws people
Thank you. I
into
appreciate
your
it.
vicinity. you
Yeah.
know? Like he's just
very
so into it.
engaged.
Like he's very engaging.
Yeah.
I like to be engaged.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
to be
Good.
engaged. I find my biggest, whenever
Mhm.
I'm not engaged, my problem is I try to change the conversation just a bit so it's still on topic, but it's a little more engaging
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah,
Like,
that's dope.
Because
Yeah.
it's like I still want that person, if this is their moment, this is their light, we're in a social circle. But if it's really killing me, instead of ignoring them, I would
Mm.
rather just like give me 5%. I can
Yeah.
live off 5%. Just give me
I love
5%,
that.
you know?
Yeah, I just need a little bit
Just-
to add in some interest.
Totally.
Okay? 'Cause I don't want to make it too dry. I'm
Yeah.
okay with majority of it being dry,
Totally.
but we'll still come out of it, win-win.
Tough. Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So long-term goals in partnership, eh? And like, how do your individual goals and motivators align with your relationship?
Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You
I
go
can-
first.
I can
then.
go first. Okay.
Yeah.
I think going back to my dad and the way that he is, wanting to be at peace, I'm very similar. I want more than anything else, just stability. And it doesn't come from a place of I've never had it before. I feel like my life, my household, at least my family's great, has been very stable. I just want to keep that going. That's my biggest goal. I feel like at this age, it's tough to know exactly what I want. But at least for me, when it came to searching for a partner in a relationship, my biggest requirement was that they came from wealth. No, my biggest
God.
requirement was that it would be somebody that I could feel at peace with for the rest of my life.
How big's the mansion?
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's just it's somebody that I was. I felt like I needed to have somebody that I could be at peace with for the rest of my life, because similar to the reality TV thing, I feel the exact same when it's dudes complaining about their girlfriends. But she's like this, and she's like, then don't do it, man. Like, and it's tough because obviously, people fall in love with the wrong people, and I've been fortunate. I've never been in that seat, but I knew from a very young age that I would just I'd be kind of looking for somebody who can kind of keep the peace with me. I won't understand. I very much believe in what my grade 4 teacher, Missy Richard, said, where you have to be able to love yourself in order to love somebody else. I don't believe that means.
I think RuPaul said that.
The drag race?
RuPaul
Yeah,
the drag-
RuPaul did not say that first. Missy Richard.
He says that
Our
every
Lady of
episode.
He stole it from Missy Richard.
Well, I like to say RuPaul said that.
Whatever. Anyways, no, but it's not so much that you can't have insecurities, and you having an insecurity means you can't love somebody. But I don't think you should try to seek fixing yourself in another person. So for me, I feel like there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I want an exciting relationship. It sounds like I want to live in an exciting neighborhood. Those two things don't make sense to me. I want my excitement to be when I'm actively pursuing excitement, when I'm going on an adventure. I want to live on a quiet, boring street, and I want my loud car to be the most annoying thing on the street. And I want my relationship to be happy and kind, and I want there to be surprises and excitement. But I don't want my relationship to constantly be flipping the table on me every 6 weeks. That sounds to me like hell, and it sounds like something I couldn't put up with. As you've seen, in between one podcast episode, I'm switching careers. So when it comes to a relationship, I'm very much looking for somebody that I can guarantee I will be happy forever. Yeah, but I find a lot of people, you get hung up on a bad weekend or whatever. But for me, it's at least my relationship with Kassie. I think now she might have something different to say, but I think it's been perfect. And I think a big reason for that is just because at the end of the day, I think people will have a lot of unreasonable standards. They'll be looking for something crazy. And I feel like people aren't willing to give other people the time of day. Kassie was willing to let me go on a second date with her. That alone is a green flag, and she's willing to go on a second date with me. And she really liked cats. That was my biggest problem with her on our first date. And I was like,
Not the cats.
the cats. Ooh, the cats.
Yeah, no, you guys seem to mesh well.
But yeah, I think that's the thing. And I think that's because both of us, and I know I've stolen all the airtime and just kind of want to get my piece out there. I think that's because both of us are and again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we're both kind of on that same level. I'm willing to have a cat if it means I will have a happy family for the rest of my life. I'm totally ready to make that sacrifice.
Sacrifices are made in all relationships.
That's easy. Signed and co-signed. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, if that's all it'll take, that sounds like a great deal to me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I agree. I feel like we both want a similar like outcome. We just want like a partner to spend life with. And I think because of that, you know, our differences are easier to combat, because it's like at the end of the day, what matters is that like we just have companionship with each other. And I think kind of looking at like our long-term like individual goals, I think that's really important for both of us, is to kind of have like our own paths and kind of go down that path together with our own individual things that we bring to the table. Because I think we can go away each day and focus on our own things, and then we can come home at the end of the day and kind of be each other's support systems to kind of work through that. And I think that's kind of where it's worked really well for us, is we're there when we need it, but we also have our independence, which I think in a relationship is really important too. You know, you got to have your own things that you're working for, and just your own dreams, your own goals. There's obviously goals you want to achieve together, but I also think it's really important to make sure you're doing something just for you as well at the end of the day, right?
Totally, because I like someday I'd love to own a garage with a bunch of tools. That's probably not on Cassie's list. She really wants a cat, so you know I'm probably gonna get my tools, and she's probably gonna get her cat. And I'll have to take my allergy pill every day, but it'll be worth it, because at the end of the day, we'll both be way happier. Then could you imagine if 2 dates in, we were like, well, we'll clearly never be compatible, and we just dropped it right there over some dumb trivial thing.
Many people don't give the other person a chance. Even you see this in friendship.
Totally.
Like, oh, that person didn't agree with me on that one subject. I could never be friends with them. Or like that guy is just, he just rubbed me off the wrong way. But you never gave him a second chance.
Yeah. I have friends that I've had political discussions with over the years, and you know me, I love to debate my politics from 2016 to today. And I've had some pretty tough conversations where it's gotten to the point where we're maybe going at each other's characters a bit, but I've always made the move, and the other person always has reciprocated it of, oh, we're still buddies though, right? And it always ends up coming, it ends up coming ahead when you're not arguing on the phone. Once you see each other in person for the first time, you're not talking about that political debate at all. Yeah. And I find so many people, I know we were just having a conversation about this, but me and Cassie don't text each other a ton throughout the day. And a big reason for me is I don't like texting over the phone. I feel like you lose a lot of the communication, and it has to be entirely practical.
Misunderstanding can happen a lot on text, especially if you're in a bad mood. You could maybe say that you could absorb that have a nice day cynically.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Or like that question, like, they're trying to get at my character. They're trying to get under my skin. Yeah,
the format is different, right? Like online, how many times have you seen somebody's Snapchat story and it's a knock-knock joke on their Snapchat story? That's never happened. Somebody might put a meme up because it's the internet, but I always say this about the internet: the standard for everything is higher. So the standard for funniness is higher. Like if all my friends think I'm just the funniest guy in town, and my town is 10 people, when you go to Twitter, there's a lot more people that probably won't think you're the funniest guy that they know. And I feel like it's the same for texting. I don't like telling a story about my day at work over text, because I feel like you lose all of the the gusto behind it. But not only that, as I'm pretty sure everyone here knows and understands, is that conversation, of course, when you get the feedback, it might change the way you're going to tell the next part of the story.
The tone, the eye contact, kind of the punchline. If you're making a joke, it's all in there. Kind of the smile in between, the cadence, the flow, and just the energy that you just exude. It's all in there.
Totally.
But how did you guys first meet?
So technically we met at Save On Foods, where we both worked.
Yeah.
The one,
not the one right here, the one on Baseline Road. Yes.
Speaking of Save On Foods, I just bought some steaks and some ground chicken at Save On. That's false advertising, man. It's just, that food will make me broke. I'm not saving
the
on
save
food.
on. Oh yeah, my aunt had
It's
5 kids in the.
expensive.
Yeah, it's like luxury food there.
Yeah.
Like, what do you?
My aunt
Yeah.
had like 5 kids in the household when I was younger, and she used to call it spend on foods because it was right beside her house, and she'd always
Yeah.
go to save on. But yeah, I worked there for 6.5 years. It is not a cheap place
Yeah,
to shop.
go broke on foods.
No, they got like wholesale prices,
Yeah.
but it's like save on foods. It's,
Right. Yeah. So you guys met.
Anyways, yeah,
Save on.
I actually met her mom before I met her. Her mom,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
really strange. So I was a cashier, and her mom was like the customer service desk lady. So she was like the shift manager, basically, not like the cashier manager, but she was the person who told me when I could go on my breaks. And her mom's name is Vivian, and me and Vivian got along really well because we would kind of we had a weird dynamic because she was the age of somebody who could be my mother, and I was the age of somebody who could be her child, obviously. So I would tell her about times where my mom would get pissed at me, and it would help me be very introspective because I would tell her the story, and then telling it to somebody of that age, I understood how they would hear it. So I'd be like, but I understand as a mom why you'd feel like that. And she'd say, yeah, as a mom, that's how I'd feel like that. My daughter did a similar thing or whatever, and I did this. And I was like,
You
yeah.
didn't know Cassie at the time.
I didn't know her at the time. Didn't
Whoa.
even know her name.
Yeah.
And we actually continued to work together, and we were in neighboring departments. I moved from cashier to produce, which is right by meats, which is where she was. And we never said.
I remember one time we talked in the compactor
One time we talked in
room.
like the trash compactor, but that was it. Just like one time.
Yeah.
And then I left Save-On temporarily to go work at my landscaping architecture job over the summer. And then we matched on Hinge. And then a few messages in, it was like, you work at Save-On Foods in Baseline? It's like, yeah. And then but like when we first initially matched, I think we were both only kind of sure that that's who we were matching with. We weren't 100% sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then her and my dad literally have all the exact same interests. Like they're the exact same. So meeting the
Wow.
parents was like stupid easy. Like stupid easy. I love Cassie's parents. They're amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. But again, exactly like my mindset on it, like the whole time our relationship was kind of rolling along, it was just too easy, and it was just green flag after green flag. And you'd have to be really stupid to want to narrow in on, is this right? No, man, things are going good. Let it roll. And
Yeah.
it's been good. Yeah.
How do you keep it going after the honeymoon phase? Because
it's tough because I don't know if
I feel like we've never like lost the fun and excitement in our relationship. I feel like we're both different enough that like we're always having a good time together. Like we're always doing stuff together. And even when we just like stay in, we have a great time. So I feel like we
like,
just enjoy each other's company.
we don't live together, but we probably hang out 3 to 4 times a week. Like every single week, like consistently and reliably. Like I see her every other day. So
long term.
Yeah, long term.
Exactly.
But it's I think that's like obviously I think there's always an initial honeymoon phase. I remember like 2 months after we started dating, we were hanging out like literally every single day. But it's not like it was like there was like we had like a big fight and it was like, oh, the honeymoon's over and now here comes the real relationship. Like that never happened. We just kind of we're just having a good time. We're just she's got to finish school, and then I've got to get cemented my career, and then she's got to start hers, and then we're just kind of hoping to kick off a nice stretch of maybe 50 to 70 years, fingers crossed, of good times. So that's kind of where we are,
Yeah, I'm really happy for you guys. And,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's just thank you so much for coming in the long-term podcast.
Yeah, it was tons of fun.
This is it's been like 2 hours and 10 minutes. Yeah. It's been crazy. It's been really fun.
No,
for
it's
sure.
it's been tons of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for next time you guys do come on, like I think without a script is just so much. It flows so much better.
Yeah, honestly, I like the script because I felt like it was more related to the podcast.
Yeah, it holds us down, but I feel like it's just there's some guests that need the structure because they just can't add to it.
Yeah.
But for both of you guys can just bounce off each other and add to it.
Yeah.
And there's always just building up onto it. Because then when you're building up, I've had some complaints with some guests say, oh, I just cut it off and straight towards the questions. Because sometimes we kind of deviate away.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just a good way to kind of touch base.
You never know when you do it all in like one shot. You never know how the other person is 100% feeling. Like, for all you know, I could be like, oh my God, Advin, Can you?
Yeah.
No.
This guy shut up?
I think me and Cassie had a conversation about it, though. I think we both agreed, at least going into it with the structure was really good. Like, it was really good to be able to.
Because then you guys can ruminate on kind of the types of conversations and which stories you'll select.
Yeah.
But
Big time, yeah.
I appreciate the both of you, and I'm thankful that we've gotten closer.
Yeah,
since
totally.
we never talked in high school.
No,
eh?
like maybe twice.
Yeah,
like in passing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. But it's great. And then through Chris, Cassie, and that's just, I think, what is it? When you have friends that are together, you're more likely to find a partner your own.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's some studies on there.
Yeah, big time.
So I think I might just find my girl next week.
I think you will. Fingers crossed.
Some alchemy here.
Yeah, you gotta find somebody who's willing to keep it long term.
To keep it long term. Yeah. You must be on the podcast at least once a week.
Yes. Throw that like right on the top on like the Tinder profile.
Sign here, sign there. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much again.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be back. I look forward to someday coming back again.
It's been great. Yeah, Kassie Vigfusson, everyone, and then Chris Valaire. As always, to everyone listening and watching, there is a place for you in this chaotic world. Never lose hope, strengthen your faith, and keep it long term. Peace.